Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today is Crystal Paine. Crystal Paine is a wife, a mom of three, a New York Times bestselling author, a speaker, and founder of MoneySavingMom.com. She's written multiple books, including Money Making Mom, Say Goodbye to Survival Mode, and 21 Days to a More Disciplined Life. You know, she's one of those people that you meet her for the first time and you feel like you've known her for your whole life. She's one of those people that you'd send the kids over to play at her house because you know that she's just a good person, all around good person. She really knows her stuff. And really what I'm excited to chat about is the fact that she's been able to use books as a part of her strategy to grow this massive following around MoneySavingMom.com. I mean, you guys are getting millions of uniques a month, and it's just become this huge movement. So Crystal, so excited to have you on and so excited to chat with you today.
I'm so excited to be here. And that was a little bit too kind of an intro, but thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's. I want to start this off by going back a little bit towards the beginning, and really, why did you decide to write your first book? Why a book in general, and what was the purpose behind that first book?
Okay, so we are going to dive right into the vault of shame. That's where we're going to go. So my very first book, which you don't really hear me talk about very much, was called The Money Saving Mom's Budget. And it was published in 2012. I think it came out in 2012. I started writing it in 2010-ish, if I'm remembering correctly. And I actually wrote this book because I got this email from a publisher and they said, would you like to write a book? And I thought, well, would I? Okay. And so it was kind of one of these fluke situations where I was writing articles for AOL. Back then, AOL was kind of a big deal, and they would feature me on their homepage every week. And a publisher had seen that article and thought, oh, she looks like she has a following. We should give her a book deal. Okay, so lesson number one, don't take a book deal just because you have a following. You need to really actually know how to write a book. And I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know even how to read a book contract. And so there was all these clauses in there that I had no idea. And I ended up signing away stuff that I wish I never would have. I didn't have an agent, so I didn't know that I should have asked for more. I didn't know that when they give you this amount, that amount is indicative of how much they're going to put towards marketing. So basically, I did everything wrong. And also the fact that I didn't know how to write a book, and it's very different to write a book than to write a blog post. And so I signed this book deal and I started trying to figure out how to write this book. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what I'm doing. And really, honestly, that book is still up on Amazon. You can go see, there's horrible reviews of it. But it was such a great learning experience because I really did everything wrong. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a proposal. I didn't have a clue. And so when it came time for me to be done with this book, it was not at all ready to go to the publisher, but it went to the publisher because I was like, here's what I got. And they published it. There was not really an editorial process. I mean, it just the whole thing, I did every single thing wrong. But I'd always said that I would never write a book unless it was come and dropped in my lap. And I really feel like it came and got dropped in my lap. I did everything wrong. But what it really inspired for me was this thing of, I want to actually try to write a book the right way. And so I had the opportunity to then go and get a do-over with my second and my third book and take the lessons that I learned and all the things that I did wrong and try to do it better the next time.
Love that. Love that. Now, I guess two parts I want to go here is some of those mistakes that you made. What were some of the mistakes? You already briefly touched on that, but maybe what were some of the lessons learned there? And then how did that affect your next books, right? How did that affect how you wrote them, marketed them, the whole thing?
Yes. Okay. So the biggest lesson that I learned is that you need to have a plan before you write a book. I know you teach this stuff because you don't just sit down with a blank screen and think, what do I want to write on today? Okay, I'll write on that. No, you have to have a plan. And I know when I've listened to some of the stuff that you've talked about where, how you really sit down and you brainstorm and then you craft this whole plan. That was key for me. And that was the biggest thing that I did wrong with the first book was I didn't have a proposal. I literally had a little paragraph that I submitted to them that was very vague. And they said, okay, that sounds okay. So with my second book, I spent so much time not only getting the idea of what I wanted to write about, but then writing on that topic and speaking on that topic and letting it marinate. And then also then spending a lot of time writing a proposal. And I think so many people, they kind of jump ahead to the book writing part and don't remember or realize that the actual proposal, where you're outlining every single step of this book, what it's going to look like, why you should write this, why you're the perfect person to write this, what else is out there on the market, what credentials you have to write this book, and then all the details of what this book is going to be about, putting that into the proposal, that really helps you to decide, am I supposed to write this book? I mean, is this the book for me? Because if you can't even write the proposal, you shouldn't be writing the book. Because if you cannot outline the entire book, if you cannot tell why you're the person to write the book, if you cannot have the passion to follow through with a proposal, you're never going to have the passion to follow through with a really strong book.
Got it. Now, in terms of, I mean, obviously there are tons of lessons learned in there, but you went from someone who you said, hey, look, I'm not writing a book unless it gets dropped into my lap, to really a content machine in terms of books. Because you mentioned that first book, 2012, and now over the span of a short amount of time, you've been able to do multiple books since then. So how has your process changed? You touched on that a little bit, but like, how have you been able to go from someone who was like, nope, not doing it unless it comes to me, to now you've got multiple books and it seems like it's something that truly is a part of your business strategy?
Yes. So I think the thing that really made a difference for me with my second book was I said, I'm never going to write a book again unless, one, I have a really good proposal, and two, unless someone helps me write it. So the secret for me with writing full-length books, not ebooks, but full-length books, is for my last two books, I had a ghost editor that I worked with. And she basically was the person who took all of my ideas. So I feel like I just kind of threw them all up onto a page for her. And then she would pick out the morsels in there that she's like, okay, it's looking like an outline, and here's the pieces, and then what do you think of this? So she was the person who I would just be able to bounce all of my ideas off of. We would work on chapter by chapter, section at a time, and each chapter, it was about 7 revisions that she and I went through, and she wasn't writing the book for me, she was just editing it. And so it was the kind of thing where not only was it accountability, because I needed that accountability, but it was also her saying, that story that you use right there, I don't think that's strong enough. I think you need a better example. Or could you go and find something that you could cite that would back this up? Or I really think this section, there's disconnect here. We need to figure out a way to make that more cohesive. And so she was editing it as we went along versus waiting until the end to send it into the publisher and have them edit it as a whole. And I feel like it made it so much stronger, but it also was the accountability that I needed to actually follow through with the book. And so that was key for me in actually doing it. And I think in the middle of everything else that I had going on, I was not able to just say, hey, I'm going to take 3 or 6 months of my life and step away from the business and all the other responsibilities and write this book. And so having someone who came alongside me was just amazingly key in the finished product being so much better.
That's great. So you've got some help plus some accountability, and that seems to have really worked for you. So those are some good lessons, some good takeaways there. Now, you mentioned the whole, I can't just stop everything and do this book. Now, obviously you're running a very successful company, and a lot of people might relate as, hey, I've got a job, I've got my own business I'm trying to get off the ground, all these things. I don't really have time for a book. How have you balanced that in terms of, you've done multiple books and obviously there's other things you can do to grow your business. So how do you balance writing a book with running the business? And I guess the second part of that question would be, how do you know, or how do you decide, like, when is it time to devote time to write the next book, and when should I just hold off a little bit and focus on growing the business?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For me, with the books, I feel like that having a published book gives you some legitimacy and gets your foot in the door places that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise be able to get your foot in the door with. And even if it's a book that you have self-published on Amazon, there's something about you having your own book that gives you this credential that just saying I'm a blogger, you don't have. I remember the day that my first book came out, and even though it was quite pathetic in my opinion, there was this, all of a sudden it was like, oh, you're not just a blogger, you're an author. And it gave me credibility. And so it's given me the ability to opportunities for speaking, opportunities for media, opportunities for writing that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And so I think there's that to consider. I would say that when you're going through a publisher, if you already have a successful business, you really have to sell a lot of books for it to be a strong income stream. And so for me, compared to the other income streams, because I wasn't self-publishing, it was not an extremely strong income stream. But you have to also take into consideration the fact that I have a very successful business that I'm comparing it to. If I self-publish, like I've done with some courses and ebooks and other things, it's an extremely strong income stream. So I think that the drawback for that is though that then I'm having to do all of the work and fund everything. So there's pros and cons with each. But as far as the business and kind of knowing, okay, how do I find the time to write the book? For me, I had to make the time. And I think with everything in life, if you want something badly enough, you will make the time for it. And so for us as a family, we had to sit down with each book, sit down and say, how are we going to make this happen? Because we really feel like this is the next step. This is, I felt really strongly in all three cases that it was time, and I had a publisher, and kind of I could see, okay, I have 6 months in the next year that I can really focus on this or whatever. But we would sit down as a family and we look at our schedule and we say, how are we gonna work together to make this happen? Because if you're married, if you have kids, it becomes a family endeavor, because you're really having to, your spouse is going to have to make sacrifices for it to happen. Your kids are going to have to make sacrifices for it to happen. And so making it a family endeavor and not just like, well, mom's going to go write her book, so sorry, I'm going to check out for 3 months, but all of us saying, how are we going to work together to make this happen? So with my first book, I got up really early in the morning, about 3 or 4 in the morning, every morning for an extended period of time. And that's when I wrote. With my second book, I did the same. I had the ghost editor, so that helped me a lot to have that accountability. And she did some of the, she helped me with some of the writing so that it wasn't just me all by myself trying to figure it out. With my third book, because the business had grown and I had a lot going on, the only way that I made it happen was I would go to bed, and then I'd get up at midnight, and I wrote from midnight to 4, and then I would go back to bed. And that's what I did for quite a long while, because I found that in the middle of the night, there are no distractions. My kids weren't up. There's nobody emailing me. There's nobody texting me. There's nobody that needs anything. The internet is dead for me in the middle of the night. And so I could really get into that writing groove and really get that focused work done that I need to get done. Obviously, that wouldn't work for a lot of people, but for me, it was me saying, I'm really passionate about this. I want to put this out there. I feel like that this is a message that I'm supposed to give to the world. And so we're going to make sacrifices in the short term for the long-term benefits.
Got it. And love having the upfront conversation with your family to kind of make a family game plan for writing the book. That's fantastic. Now, you touched on the 12 to 4 thing. That's crazy. I love it. It's so crazy that I love it. How long did you have to do that for? And like, how did that work? How was that in comparison to the other times where you just got up early? And then how did that affect the family dynamic while you were writing the book?
Yeah, so my husband is home full time and we're in the business together, and we also currently homeschool our kids. And so it worked out that we were able to, he took over half of the he took over all of the homeschooling for the 3 months that I wrote the book. And so he would literally let me sleep in, and I would get up and I would write, and then I'd go back to bed, and then I would sleep in, and he'd get the kids up and get the day started. So obviously that wouldn't work for a lot of families, but I think it's a great example of when there's a will, you can usually find a way. And so that's what we did. But as far as it comparing to the other times when I would just get up early. What I found is that, this is kind of a funny thing, but I had told my audience, like my readers for so long, I'd been like, you should get up early in the morning. Like there's so, you can do so much in the early morning hours. So my readers get up early now, which means that there's a lot of activity going on in the early morning. People are emailing and they're leaving comments and there's stuff to do because people are up in the morning, which is a great thing. But I realized that if I was trying to get up at 4 and really get in that, I need like 3 or 4 hours to really focus, to get into that writing groove where I can just really think and I'm being all creative. Then if I was doing that from like 4 to 8, it was like by about 5:30 or 6, it was like the world was coming alive and I was getting a lot of distractions. So for about 3 months, we literally cleared almost everything from our schedule. And that's what I did. And so I would write in the middle of the night. I would go to bed early, get up late, do the stuff that I had to do to run the business. But I really cut out pretty much everything else out of my life and for a 3-month period. And we just said, if we can just, kind of sprint and just really power through, we're going to look back and be glad that we made these sacrifices. And we are.
That's awesome. Now I want to switch gears a little bit to more of the marketing and the monetizing, kind of the back end thing. Let's touch on marketing and then let's get into kind of the effects that books have had on your business. So for a little bit, let's just kind of break down, like, what does the marketing portion of the book launch look like for you, and how has that changed over the course of multiple books?
So with my first book, I did have a pretty comprehensive marketing plan that I put together. I didn't know what I was doing. And at that point, I didn't have much of a team working with me. And because, like I said, when a publisher gives you an amount as an advance, that is their indication of how much they're going to put into the book. So the more advance you get, the more it means that they're going to put more marketing efforts. I didn't know that. And so I ended up with an advance that I thought was great for me, but for the publisher, it was like I was on the D team, basically. And so they did very little to help me with marketing because they were like, oh, it's a D list book or whatever. So I think that that's one thing that a lot of people, the misconception though, that comes with, if you get a book deal versus self-publishing, is you think that the publisher is going to do so much work for you. Well, they can be an asset and they pay for a lot of things a lot of the time, but they are expecting you to do the work. And, you've heard the statistics of like the writing of the book is about 5% of the work and the marketing of the book is about 95% of the work. And it is. And so for me, the marketing plan was so important, especially with books 2 and 3, once I kind of knew what worked, what didn't work, and what felt good to me. And so for me, I laid it out months and months in advance. So really, at least 7 to 9 months in advance, I wanted to have the bones of the marketing plan all figured out. And even when I was writing the book, I was thinking of specific pieces in the book or phrases in the book or sections in the book that would be really good for marketing. So whether that would be a hot topic that I would want to write articles on, or that would be something that would be, we'd use that for a tweet to promote the book, or we'd use that in an Instagram photo because it was a really great quote or something. So pulling those key things out as you're writing so that you're thinking of the marketing. It's not just like you write the book and then you figure out the marketing plan, but really thinking of it while you're writing the book. I think that is that's been key for me. There's a book that I love called Sell Your Book Like Wildfire by Rob Eager, that has really inspired me. And I read that, I think, when I was in the process of launching my second book, and really helped me then with my third book to figure out how am I going to market this book well from the beginning. So creating the marketing plan, thinking of all the aspects of marketing, thinking of who is my target market. I really encourage people to actually identify that person. Who is the specific person that you're writing this book to? Because it can't just be, well, it's a great book for everyone. No, like it needs to be a very specific person that you're writing this book to. So for me, I'm writing for the mom who she has a few young kids. She's overwhelmed with her life. She's usually in her like late 20s, early 30s, and her heart is at home and with her family. But she also, either with my second book, it was that she's overwhelmed and she just wants to figure out how to live her life with more passion and purpose. And with my third book, Money Making Mom, it was that she needs to figure out a way to use her passions and her skills to be able to make an income, or she wants to do that. So identifying that market, that target person, then I can say, okay, where are those people? Like, where do they hang out online? What magazines do they read? What blogs do they read? What sites do they go to? Would they be more on Pinterest, or would they be more on Facebook? Would they be more on Instagram? And so then I can tailor my marketing plan based upon where those people are going to be and put the most efforts there. And so thinking kind of globally first, and then really breaking it down. And so I would have every single month leading up to the book launch, and then every single week, and then every single day for the last 4 weeks of the book launch, we would have every single day exactly what was going to happen in all our social media, exactly what was going to happen on the blog, exactly what posts we were going to write for whatever sites, and who we were going to network with, and all the details would be very laid out at least a few months in advance so that I could see the whole picture and make sure that we weren't missing any of the pieces.
Love it. Biggest things that you guys did that really moved the most books, or that moved the needle?
Yes. Okay. So I would say that one of the biggest things that we did was I think so many people make the mistake of just saying, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It's like, I have a new book. I wrote a book, buy my book. And I'm like, do you really want someone hollering on the street corner saying, buy this, buy this, buy this? Is that what's going to get you into some store? Probably not, unless you desperately need to buy whatever it is that they're selling on the street corner. It's also kind of annoying. Like, you don't want to be that person. And so I really focus on telling them the value that they are going to get. How is this book going to benefit them? How is it going to change their life? What are those promises that I can make that if they read this book, they are going to learn these specific things? So I think from the get-go, when you're thinking of your marketing plan, to really know what are those key benefits that you are going to promote when you're marketing your book. And so I would write, leading up to the book launches, I would write a lot of articles that would be on those key topics. And then in the article, I would say, as I've been working on my book, and I'd link to my book. And so I'm creating this awareness of the book, but I'm not saying buy my book. I'm just creating the awareness for it. Then having a launch team was hugely successful for me to then create that excitement for the book. So people knew it was coming, and I do little teaser things here and there, like maybe when you first get the cover, you can post on Instagram or post on your blog or something, so you're teasing it, but you're not saying buy my book. You're just saying, I'm so excited, I've put all this effort into this, I can't wait, like, yay, look at the cover. You're creating this awareness. But you want to be so careful about when you're actually asking people to buy, because you can wear them out ahead of time when it's not the ideal time to ask them to buy. So create the awareness, then create the excitement. And so with a launch team, I would post it on my blog, and I said, hey, anybody want to help me promote this book? It's coming out on X date, and if you would like to get a pre-release copy, then I would love to have you consider being on the launch team. Now, I would say, like, here's the 4 things that you are going to commit to if you're going to be on the launch team. We need you to write reviews on Amazon. We need you to read the pre-release copy and give us input if you find anything that you think needs to be changed. We want you to give us your marketing ideas, and we want you to be active on the Facebook group and just really helping to be the street team to get the word out. Well, so many people get excited about kind of being on the inside. And so the launch team created that awareness and also that excitement. But then those people on that launch team, they came up with all sorts of creative marketing ideas that I wouldn't have come up with. They did like a book study on Blab. They had me come on and they did this Blab, this live interview on Blab. And then they created all these cute graphics that I could use on social media that they just did for free because they were excited about the book. They would take pictures of themselves with the book, and then they're telling their friends, and they're, you know, pulling out key statements from the book and saying like, you guys really need to be promoting this because this really impacted me, or sharing their stories, sharing their endorsements. So they created all that excitement. And so for me, it was like creating the awareness, creating the excitement. And then when I'm getting ready to really tell people, okay, buy the book, I am telling them why they need it in their life and what need it's going to solve in their life, what problem it's going to help them with, how it's going to benefit their life, versus just saying, buy my book. And I'm really careful that I don't have those really strong sales pitches very often. We plan those out very strategically so that it's only a few times, so that when we actually do that hard sales pitch, it's highly effective.
Love that. Love that. Great stuff. Now let's switch gears a little bit to kind of the back end, the monetizing side of things. I guess first I want to touch on how have you seen these blogs, not these blogs, how have you seen these books lead into growing your blog and growing your overall platform? What does that look like?
And so I think I'm a little bit different in some senses because I started with a pretty solid, good, successful business. And so I've seen other people where they've used the book to kind of launch their business. I did it a little bit in the reverse. For me, it's been the credibility. Like I talked about before, that's been huge for me. I've had some pretty big media opportunities and gotten to write for a lot of magazines, been quoted as like an expert in a lot of articles in large publications and online. And it's because I have a book. So they'll say, Crystal Paine, if it was just founder of MoneySavingMom.com, like that doesn't bear enough weight. But when you can say author of, then the articles and the publications and the media, they're very interested in that. So it's given me that, which has then opened up other doors of opportunity. I think for me, it's also really, this is not monetization, but it's sort of, I think it's shaped me as a writer. I think that there's something about having to go through the process of writing a book and editing it and editing it and editing it and having all these people speak into it and criticize it and critique it in a healthy, constructive way that shapes you as a writer. And I know with each book, I have improved so much as a writer. And so I feel like that, even though I can't put a dollar figure on that, I know that that is really invaluable. And that's been invaluable for me as a blogger, as an author, and as a communicator as well. I think the other thing that is also an invaluable piece is the confidence that it's given me, because writing the book and the opportunities that have opened up as a result of that, it's been really scary for me. Some of them that I've had to do that I'm just like, I'd rather just go throw up and poke my eyeballs out than have to go on live TV or on a stage or whatever. But facing those fears and being in those situations that were so far outside of my comfort zone, because the book opened up that door, then that's helped me to grow in confidence as a person, which has then given me so much more confidence in so many other situations. Now, the actual monetization of the book, like I said, it's a fairly small income stream compared to other income streams that we have. But one thing that we did with my last book, Money Making Mom, that I was very strategic about is that I wanted to build a part of my business that was dedicated to people who are interested in making money, specifically moms. And so I've been blogging for over 10 years at that point and had a successful business. And a lot of people were coming to me saying, how are you doing this? I want to do this. Can you help me? And I realized that I had a lot of experience that I could share and a lot of mistakes that I'd made, and that there were a lot of opportunities that could be there as far as being able to promote things like the self-publishing school and being able to promote other opportunities like that, that to my main audience, it wouldn't really be as applicable to them because they're looking to save money, not necessarily to make money. So when I launched Money Making Mom as kind of part of our whole marketing strategy, we built an email list that was called the Money Making Mom email list. And we had a free 5-day course that was a video course. If people are interested, it's at moneymakingmombook.com. You can go and you can sign up for it. But we really plugged that versus plugging the book. And I did that very strategically because I knew that the long tail benefits of that would be so much more than a one book purchase. And so I was thinking of, I want to build this whole side of my business that is not just people are buying a book, but it's that people are looking to me as someone who has expertise and experience. They're going to be on my weekly email list. They're going to pay attention to what I'm saying, what I'm writing about, what I'm helping them with, and my advice, ultimately, so that I could produce more digital products, that I could promote affiliate opportunities and different things, so that it wasn't just about the advance and the money from sales of the book, but it was about a much, much bigger kind of wing of the business that we launched with that book.
Got it. Now let's talk a little bit more about that and kind of what it's looked like on the back end, because obviously the long tail monetization on these books is in the email list. It's through the products, the courses, the speaking, the all the things that you've talked about. How have you seen that kind of, like, what does that process look like from, hey, I'm interested in Money Making Mom, the book, to, okay, now I'm taking that next step, whether it be the email list, the products, the thing like that? How do you take someone from they first get exposed to you through your book to then going on and to buying other products?
So I think the thing for me that has been so key in my success is just being a real person. I am so careful to not put myself up on a pedestal. Like, one of my things is every time when I get on an interview, when I am on a stage, whatever it is, whatever opportunity, that I want to immediately lower the stage. And I want people to know that I'm just like them. And I think I am a very relatable person just because I didn't go to college. I don't have a marketing background. I don't have any of the things that people think you have to have in order to be successful. I don't have those things. I'm just a regular mom who is really passionate about stuff, who has a lot of perseverance, and I've stuck with it and kept learning and kept experimenting and made a lot of mistakes. And so I think that's been key for me, is that I always tell people, what makes you uniquely you? Because people want to follow a person, and you are your brand. And so if people are following you, once they start following you, you can take them wherever you decide you want to go. And so, like with me, I started out helping people with clipping coupons and all that. And a lot of my audience, they're not there at all anymore. They want to know how to live intentionally, and they want to know how to make money and how to have a successful business and all that. And I've kind of taken them there because they were following me as a person. So one of the ways that I've done that very successfully is through Periscope. Periscope actually launched and became a big thing a few months before Money Making Mom launched. And so I actually did Money Making Mom scopes every single afternoon leading up to the launch, and really pushed people to go sign up for my free 5-day course. So people connected with me through Periscope, and they connected with me as a person, and they recognized I like this person, or they decided I didn't like this person, they stopped following me, but they said, I like this person, I like what she has to offer, I can trust her, so therefore I'm going to go sign up for her email list. So we built that trust relationship, and then once they got on my email list, I continue to then nurture that relationship by offering them lots of really valuable insider, behind the scenes sorts of things that I'm sharing with them, and just kind of opening up the business to them and sharing, kind of gutting myself in the business for them to see the mistakes I'm making, what I'm learning, what I'm trying, what's working, articles I'm reading, books I'm reading, just to give them that inside peek, and just sharing lots of helpful information, and very rarely asking them to buy something. And so that's for me, like, building that trust relationship, talking to the person on my email list. I always write them thinking of writing to a friend. When I'm on Periscope, when I'm on an interview, it's like always, I just want to be, I'm talking to a friend. And that is who I am. That's where I'm my best self. And so doing that and connecting with people in that way, so then they will then follow you and buy whatever it is that you promote, or whatever it is that you write or produce, because they built that trust relationship with you.
Got it. Now, it seems like the Money Making Mom had the most direct path to like more back-end monetization and business growth and things like that. Are there particular things that you saw from the first book that also led to like back-end courses or to other things that you're doing? Or was it mostly the Money Making Mom?
So I would say with my first book, not necessarily. My first book was more like the legitimacy and the opportunities. I know after my first book launch, I started getting a lot more speaking requests, and I'd not really gotten those before. So I feel like it really opened the door for speaking and media that I hadn't had before. So those were great things that really then also launched some other things. The other thing I would say with that is that it opened the door for networking with certain people that maybe they wouldn't have paid attention to me before, but then they saw, oh, she's not just a blogger. She's actually an author of a bad book, but whatever. And so then they would reach out to me, and we made connections there that have impacted me in the long term. But with my second book, which is called Say Goodbye to Survival Mode, and it's really about helping women to streamline their life so that they can really live with intention. And so that book, I would say, opened up a lot of other doors for me outside of the money saving realm. And that was really my hope with that book, because people had just for so long looked at me as money saving mom. Obviously that's my brand. And so that's what they saw me as. So that book was a departure from my brand. But it was a topic that people had been asking me about a lot. And so it gave me credibility outside of just frugal living, clipping coupons and all that. And so it opened the door for that, which then from that, we were able to launch, and we have three courses that we've done: Make Over Your Mornings, Make Over Your Evenings, and Make Over Your Year, that have become a huge income stream for our business, and just passive residual income from that. And I really feel like that book gave me the kind of foundation for then people to say, oh, wow, she has a lot to say on using your time well and living with intention. So therefore, of course, we want to buy her courses because we learned so much from her book.
Got it. That's good. Now, those three courses that you just mentioned, I imagine now, do most of those sales come from the book? Do they come directly from the blog, from other marketing channels that you use? What does that kind of breakdown look like?
Yeah, so I would say that the majority of those course sales right now, we're getting ready to launch like a whole big new evergreen campaign for those courses. But right now, it's mostly just kind of the passive income from people finding it through either affiliate links on other people's sites or through Pinterest. Has been really huge for our site, as far as people clicking through on a post on Pinterest that then plugs it. We kind of have it, the courses plugged on some, our top 30, 40, 50 posts. There's a strong push for it at the bottom. So people are coming in to read that post, and then it's something to do with, living with intention or using your time wisely or something. And they're like, oh, I like this post. And so then there's a plug at the bottom for the course. And that's where it's come from as well. One of the big things that we did with the courses is that we offered day one for free, which is, it's a very simple thing that a lot of people do, but we've actually had 50% conversion on those signups with Make Over Your Mornings, because people signing up, getting day one, and they're like, I really like this. And so that's been a great teaser that's then led into a lot more sales.
That's awesome. That's a great tip. Now, of all the things that you guys do to monetize on the back end of your book, what's been the biggest revenue generator?
So the biggest revenue generator for us as far as with the books is, I would say, people finding out about us and then signing up for either our email list or just becoming a regular blog reader or following us on social media. So our over 50% of our income now still comes from affiliate sales and affiliate marketing. We're working on trying to diversify more, because it was 75%. So we're making progress.
Yes.
Because I don't want to have all the eggs in the affiliate marketing basket. But for us, the books have been kind of a gateway for people to find out about us and then follow the blog. A lot of people found a lot of libraries carry my books, and so that's especially for my first two books. So many people have checked them out from the library and found out about us from that, and then started following and become regular readers, which then, if people are regularly visiting your site, like every day or 3 times a week or whatever, then you're going to be earning money off of them, whether they're just for them showing up to your site the sidebar advertising, or like on our site, we make a lot of money off of people printing coupons, people signing up for freebies, that sort of thing through affiliate marketing. And so just as them being a regular part of our audience, we're earning money from them.
Got it. That's great. Now, let's see, what's one surprising way that you've made money on the back end of your book? Maybe something that you didn't expect when you first started doing these books, but something that was like, that's kind of cool.
Well, this is not exactly a making money on the back end, but this was a tip that I wanted to share earlier that then I forgot to, about one surprising way that we marketed the book that ended up being like the most successful way to market the book and sell the most copies. And that was so my second book, Say Goodbye to Survival Mode, it launched in January, and we had this brilliant idea that we were going to do this free package of coupons and freebies that people would get if they pre-ordered the book. So we thought this was a brilliant idea, and we hadn't seen anybody who was doing it. Like a lot of people will do where it's like you get these free ebooks or you'll get courses or whatever, but not where they were working with a bunch of other companies and the companies were offering freebies and coupons. And so we thought this was a brilliant idea. Well, it kind of fell flat on its face because our readers were sort of like, nah, that's a good coupon, but you post good coupons like that. It wasn't what was super enticing for them until right around the end of December, I realized, there's one freebie in this package that I think will do really well. And it was called the Motivated Mom's Chore Planner, which is basically this organizational system that every single day of the year, it tells you what you should clean, clean your bathroom, clean your vents, like it breaks it down. So for moms who are really busy, who they want to have their house clean, but they just need somebody to tell them what to do. This planner was free if they pre-ordered the book. So instead of me focusing on telling them like, here's all these 10, amazing things you get if you pre-order the book, I instead started focusing on just the one freebie that I thought would be the biggest incentive for people. So the day that we started really promoting that versus all 10, our sales went way, way up as a result of that. And so it was really cool to see how, we thought we had this great idea, but we had like totally missed the mark. People just wanted one freebie. They didn't want the whole package. And so just throwing that out there of like how I realized that it wasn't working. And instead of scrapping the planner, instead of saying like, okay, well, we're just going to keep going because this is what we got, I said, okay, let's go back to the drawing table and how can we take this plan, but how can we tweak it some so that it will be really successful? And then that ended up being the thing that sold the most copies of the book overall ever as a result of just focusing on that one freebie when people pre-ordered.
Wow. And you think it was just the positioning? It was just that's what people wanted? Why do you think that was?
So there was a couple of reasons. One would be it was a brand that my audience was very familiar with for the past 3 years. Anytime Motivated Moms would have a sale on their chore planner, I would promote it because people loved it. So I knew it was a brand that people loved and a product that people were really interested in. It was also the timing of it. So I started promoting it right near the end of December, beginning of January, when everyone is going to change their life and they want whatever it is that they think is going to change their life. And so positioning it, and not only with the branding, but also with the timing, that's really what was key. And then being very strategic about sending out to our whole email list and sending out through all of our avenues and really focusing on this one thing. I think that I see a lot of authors going on a tangent here, but I think I see a lot of authors, they do a disservice to their product by giving people so many options instead of just giving them this one option. And so they'll say, if you buy one book, you get these 5 things. And if you buy 5 books, you get these 10 things. And if you buy 25 books, and it's like, people are just like, no, I just want one option. And so much of the time we just need to focus on that one call to action. We think that more is going to be better, but it's actually just going to be confusing and overwhelming to people.
That's a great tip. Confuse people, don't buy.
That's right.
You
need to have it right smack down on their forehead, click the button.
Yes, that's awesome. Now, Crystal, this has been great. What would be your parting tip for someone thinking about writing and publishing their first book?
I think the biggest thing that I always just encourage people with is to own your gifts and your own unique story. I think it's so easy for us to look around and we see all these people. We see somebody like you who you're doing amazing things. You're young and you're on fire and you have so much passion for what we're doing. And I can look at you and I can think, this is just like, I wish I could be young again and have all this passion and like go, I wish I had all those ideas, and I forget to be me. And so I just really challenge people, women especially, we are so prone to compare ourselves to other people, and then to let that be kind of the death of our vision and our story. And just to know that every single person in the whole entire universe, you have your own unique gifts, your own unique skills, your own unique talents, your own unique passions, your own unique life experience and story. And I just want you to not apologize for that, not feel less than because of that, but to own those gifts, to walk into those gifts, and to share your story, your own unique story, your own unique perspective with the world, because the world needs your own unique perspective. The world needs your voice, and the world needs your story.
Awesome. Well, that's some great parting advice, Crystal. This has been fantastic as always. Love hanging out, love chatting, and just love the passion that you bring to what you do. So before we head out, where can people go to find out more about you, what you're doing in your books?
Yeah, so my kind of hub for everything I do is at MoneySavingMom.com. If you want to find out more, I talked about my Money Making Mom book and my free 5-day course. If you want to see what I'm doing there, that's been really effective. If you go to MoneyMakingMomBook.com, you can sign up for that free 5-day course and just see how we're marketing that book very successfully. So thank you so much for the opportunity. This was so much fun.
Yes, thank you, Crystal.